Alright, so with this tutorial, standard HD opening, all that sort of jazz, I'm looking at doing pose-to-pose animation and getting my timings right. It's going to be a fairly simple page turn animation. Well, I say simple, but you know, I've got a book with a bunch of pages and I want it to progress from one side to the other, from frame 1 to, I don't know, let's go 30. That's a very quick page turn, happens over a second. Maybe we'll push it out to 45, or even let's just go 60. 60 is nice and easy. Nice round number. So, how do I do this? I'm going to delete all this stuff, so Control A and delete. First thing I'm going to do is bring up a bit of a reference. So I've grabbed these two images from Unsplash and the authors in there. I'll put links to the actual stuff themselves, and you can see here I've got some clear indications of that one. So, oops, wonderful keyboard shortcuttiness, and I'm missing the edge of my window. There it is. So to get this, I'm just going to drag and drop it straight in there. Adobe will work out what to do. And if I zoom out, I can see the entire thing, but my stage is only that big. The image is actually a lot bigger, so I need to adjust the size. So here I'm just going to use the free transform tool, Q on the keyboard, and I want to lock it into that corner. Now it's going to rotate around that small white circle in the center, undo. So to make that go into the corner, I'm going to click that corner and then hold down the Alt key and slide it in so it fits. If I want, I can even hold down Shift to get the aspect ratio, but I only need it about right. It doesn't need to be perfectly height and width wise. That again is a little too big, so I'm just going to bring it in a little bit so I've got a bit of an edge around it, because this will eventually disappear. This is my reference layer, and I'm just going to keep note of that as a separate thing. And then I'm actually going to lock it so that I can't actually accidentally modify it, because if you're doing something with the thing and then you accidentally click the wrong layer, it's a headache. So, the page turn. Well, first off, I need to set up my background of the book. So let's just go book for one layer. And for the next layer, I'm going to add in a page. So what's it going to look like? Now, for this time round, I'm just going to bring up the timeline for a second. I want it to run through to frame 60, so I'm going to click and drag up and insert a frame. So by clicking and dragging up, I'm able to insert frames for all three layers at the same time. So the book now exists for the entire time period, and here my background is going to be fairly static. So here it's just a matter of just drawing it in. So get the brush to a thing. I can change the color if I want to, but I think for this one, oops, I just selected off something random, didn't I? We'll just stick with the black book cover, and I'm going to try and zoom in and get to a point where I can get some nice drawing going on. So I want my book to sort of be like that. Now this is a book cover, so I should probably actually thicken up the spine and then worry about the other stuff in a little bit. So following the rough course of the spine, and I'm just sort of roughly eyeballing it and drawing really badly today. So no, I'm just not getting the right angle. I'll have to shift the tablet. No, I'm still getting worse. That's better. So, can't quite see what's going on here, so I'm going to hide that so I can see. Yeah, that middle bit doesn't look particularly good. So, I'm just going to skip that out, and then, whoops. And then just try, not with the eraser, with the actual pen. Great. Now, dropping down this, I've got to then work out where the pages sit. So revealing this again, every book has this sort of weird spiny piece. So I'm just going to draw that in. And then I'm just going to create the impression of a book. Whoops. So I'll probably hide this layer for now. And it's all coming out of there. So I'm just going to add in some pages just to give that, and it's trying to draw with a tablet some days is just awkward. But yeah, you can see my line work needs a little bit of work. Undo. So that will go to about there. then we've got the page itself. So assuming this is done and we can see the book retreat off into the distance a little bit, I need to animate a page over the top of that. But when it's being animated, I also need to see the back of the book and this central spine piece. So that's going to have to be changed as well, and that may actually get shoved up onto the top layer. So going back to my reference, I'm just going to go to this top layer, and I'm going to draw in a page. So space to hold up, and I want the page to start roughly on that side to about there. Oops. I'll draw half of it first because I need to be able to see where it kicks out. And what I mean by that is that you can see here I've got this stretching back, and I've already changed a bit of the layout. So that looks pretty good. Yes, I've got this overcrossing line here, but we'll get to fixing that. So, and yeah, this is a reference. I'm pretty much done with it now. The angle of the reference compared to what I've just drawn up is slightly different in angle, like perspective, because my book is flatter on whatever surface, where this is more looking at the spine. So I'm just going to stick with this, and I'm just going to work around it. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of shadow there, and that sort of stuff. So animating a page turn, let's get on with this. Jumping on a couple of frames, let's say halfway point, that's a good one. So I'm going to insert a blank keyframe at this point, because what I need is I need to remove that page, and I need to actually drop in that vertical reference. So here, from about where it starts, straight up, get rid of the reference. So you can see here, it sort of stretches back a bit. Maybe my page is too tall, so oh no, that's sort of about right. And I'll just go up the back there. Nope, undo, undo, undo. Undo a little more. Oops, too far. Control Shift Z to redo, and then hide my reference. Nope. Control Y. Nope. Control Shift. Should be Control Shift Z, but maybe it's not. Edit. Repeat hide layers. Oh no, because I've done another key press, I've lost that history that I can go back through. Oh well, just do it again. Anyhow, alright, so run. No, I don't want to do with that. I want this. Oh, I hid the layout. Well, that was, yeah, wonderful. At least it warned me. So there's that reference. I'm going to jump on to sort of this point, insert another blank keyframe, and then do another reference. And this is just a reference line, so I know where I'm going. I should go back to here, and I will insert a blank keyframe again, because I need yet another reference line out about that side somewhere. Now I can actually hide my reference image. And what I've got is I've got a couple of different points along here to animate to. Now at the end here, I probably need one more reference image, so I'm just going to insert a blank. And this is where the book is actually flicked over this way. That's good. So now I have a bunch of reference images, reference lines, sorry. And this is where I need to start animating to them. This one, probably a little too far over here. It should be more over here. So I'm going to click and drag it back a bit. Probably about frame 9, I think. That's good. And so this way I can do what's called the in-betweens between between this keyframe and that keyframe. And it's just a matter of inserting a blank keyframe. But the hassle, of course, is as soon as I insert a blank keyframe, I lose where the page is at, and I don't know where the page is going to be. So this is a wonderful access point for the onion skinning tool, where I can see back through time. So I now have a reference as to where my page is. Now, I don't like part of this reference, so I'm going to lock the lower layers, flick to the eraser tool, and fix up that line. Let's square brackets to enlarge the brush. Yeah, that should do, and should get rid of most of that mess. Alright, and then I should be able to switch back to, and if you enlarge the brush in the brush tool, or in the eraser tool, like if I push this up to 63, when you switch back, both are at 63. So Photoshop does it a little differently. This one, yeah. Alright, anyhow, so about 10. Now I need to redo that line so that it will be better for the book. That's not good enough. So here, that's probably fairly good. Stretching back a bit, and I'll have to tidy that up later. But that's pretty good. Now flick over to the eraser to do the tidy up. And yep, there we are. And tidy up those little bits. Let's hide all these other layers. See what, oops, wrong one. So I can get rid of that, I can get rid of that. I'll just redraw that line. So this is part of animating by the book. Pardon the pun. Yeah. All right. So reveal that bottom layer, and it should be good. Yep, that's good. So what I was actually trying to do is this one here. I've got that grayed out area, which shows me back through time down here. I can actually control how much time I see. So if I push this forward, I'm now given another indication of where things are at. And what I want to do is I want a couple of keyframes in here. I'm going to be doing what they call animating on twos to try and connect these points. So first off, I'm going to jump between the 2 points. So I've extended this onion skin so I can see to frame 9 where that one starts, and also frame 1. So I'm going to estimate halfway between, about there. Then I can then drop into here and use that dot plus what I've just done. So back to the brush tool, yeah, it says 10 point dot. So I should be able to do that. So I'm just going to focus in on, and then I know where the dot is. So I'm just going to aim for the dot. Close enough. Now I can erase the dot. And so just by doing this process of working out your starting point, working out your in-betweens, that was the eraser, and working on blank keyframes, of course. That's not smooth enough. But, so you can see here, if I turn onion skinning off, what I've got is the starting point of that animation kicking in. So here, the trick is set your, I suppose, you start and end point, work out a midpoint, and then each time you're sort of splitting it in half. All right, so I'll just turn onion skinning off so we can see it. And here we've got the page turn going on. So as you can notice, I haven't animated on twos all the way through because some of the spacings weren't right. So this is the point where I start cheating. I'm going to grab this and slide this up a couple of frames. And now it's on twos. And again, on twos. And all I'm just doing is shuffling everything up so that it will work as an animation. Yeah, and so, or alternatively, I can select this whole block of frames here, right click and go remove frames. Everything gets slid up. So I'll just select those two, remove, so it's Shift F5, so Shift F5, and again, and that last one there, and then these two, which I'll have to unlock first, and then I'll just Shift F5 to remove them. Done. So I don't actually need my reference anymore, but this is now set up on twos. So as you can see in this first layer, that's a reasonably nice motion. All I need to do is fill in the rest. So like I've done at the back, it's just a matter of redrawing So getting back into this, you can see it's mostly done. Now, the only hassle, of course, is getting the page turn to not display or show the thing behind it. And this is where we need to go back, and I'm just going to use a giant eraser, select the tool, there, bang, all right, cool. And it's just basically a matter of keyframing. So I lock the top layer, unlock the bottom, this mid layer, the book layer, and I'm just going to insert keyframe. And then I'm just going to erase all that with a little bit of accuracy, knowing that I can't erase that top layer. Next one. Oh, right, yes. I better undo all this. Whoops. Okay, the trick here is you're going to need to insert all the keyframes first, because what it's doing is it's copying what's there, and this does mean going through and erasing the whole lot. Now, this should be an F6. Convert to keyframe F6. Yeah, cool. So if I just go F6 and then use the angled brackets on the keyboard. Whoops, I hit something wrong there. And still stuffing it up. But anyhow. Boom, 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 boom. Why is it doing that? I'm not touching anything. Because my selection's there. Okay, that makes sense. The little blue highlighter is where it's selected. Oh well. Alright. So, yep, done. Alright, now back to frame 2. This is where I get the giant eraser and tidy it up. So, tool, big, bang. Alright, I can then be careful around the edges. And of course, if I run over this stuff, yes, it looks like it's erased, but when I release the mouse, it goes, oh yeah, the top layer is locked, I'm not going to change it. So I should relatively easily be able to go through and do this. So again, I'm going to rush ahead, get it all done, and you can see the results in a few moments. So here's the finished page turn. Let's just drag and see, and you can see it going through its motions right there. That bit, that actually probably needs a bit of tidy up, so let's just get that done before I do anything else. Perfect. Alright, so the last little thing is, because I've condensed the timeline down to, well, it looks like about 43, let's go to the dock and we'll change the frame rate. In this case, I want to slow that frame rate down to 24 frames a second. That should be about 2 seconds worth of page turn. So if I go enter on the keyboard, we can see it play, and that looks pretty good. As always, save and export. So file, save as, page turn, done. One thing I forgot to mention during the whole rigmarole is the reference layer. This layer down the bottom is not needed anymore, so once you've used it, you can just delete it. Delete layer, done. Now you only have the animation, and so when it actually does the video, hopefully it won't include that layer as well. Just for the next step, yeah, look, next on the list is animating lines, or if you want to, dive into Puppet Walk. Yeah, enjoy.